I thought spitting into a little plastic tube was the stupidest thing I'd do all year. Turns out, it was the reason strangers started calling me the rarest omega in 3 states. It began on a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday where you're just tired enough to buy gas station coffee and just bored enough to check your junk email. That's when I saw it. Your DNA results are ready. From the online genetic testing company I barely remembered ordering from. I'd bought the kit on sale, mostly because my coworker dared me to. What I didn't expect was for the results to have a flashing red banner at the top. Alpha match potential extremely high compatibility rate. I laughed, out loud, alone in my apartment. It sounded like a bad dating app gimmick until the emails started. The first one was from someone named Dean Harrison. Saw your profile in the beta gene database. We should talk. I think we might be a match. Then another from someone named Caleb, then Jacob, then 3 more names I didn't know but who somehow knew mine. They weren't creepy not yet, but they had that confident, territorial tone in their words. Like they already knew me. By Friday, I couldn't go to the grocery store without catching a stranger watching me from the end of an aisle. I started seeing the same silver pickup truck parked across from my apartment building. And then there was him, Ethan Carter. The first time I met him, he didn't try to hide that he was staring. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a flannel shirt rolled to the elbows like he'd just stepped out of a commercial for rugged masculinity. His gaze was steady, almost too steady, like he was reading something in me I didn't know was there. "You're Liam, right?" he asked, voice low and warm. "I think we need to talk." I told him I didn't know him, which was technically true. But it didn't feel true. Ethan was different from the others. He didn't push, didn't flood my phone with messages after somehow finding my number. He just showed up. At the coffee shop, at the farmer's market. Once, when my car wouldn't start in the library parking lot, he was there before I could even call for help. Part of me wanted to tell him to back off. The other part, the part that couldn't stop noticing the way he looked at me like I was the only thing in focus, didn't. But there was a problem. Actually, several. For one, I didn't believe in this whole alpha-omega compatibility thing. Sure, I'd grown up hearing about it in biology classes and old family stories, but it always felt more like a myth than science. People are people. We choose who we love. The second problem was the fact that the DNA database was private, or so I thought. To get my results, someone had to pay for access. Someone had to intentionally search for me. And from what Ethan hinted at, that someone wasn't just him. By the time I realized the truth that my DNA data had been sold to a matchmaking syndicate catering exclusively to high-status alphas, it was too late. I was on their list. Ethan's voice was quiet the night he finally told me why he was here. "I'm not going to lie," he said, leaning against the hood of his truck. The two of us looking out over the quiet river at the edge of town. "At first, yeah, I looked you up because of the test. But that's not why I stayed. I wanted to believe him. But the air between us was thick with all the unspoken things about how my life had tilted on its axis in less than a month. About how part of me hated him for being part of it, and part of me wanted him more than I'd ever wanted anyone. I told myself I'd keep my distance. I even tried. But it's hard to stay away from someone who makes the world feel sharper, more alive, just by being in it. Things got dangerous fast. One evening, I came home to find my front door unlocked. Nothing was missing but a single white envelope sat on my kitchen counter, with no return address. Inside was a note in clean, block handwriting. "You're not safe with him. He's not the only one who wants you." I didn't know if him meant Ethan or someone else entirely. When I showed Ethan the note, his jaw tightened, and for the first time, I saw something almost feral in his eyes. "They're getting bolder," he said. "You're going to have to trust me, Liam." Trust. That was the hardest part. Because when I finally let Ethan in, really in, it wasn't just about safety anymore. It was about the way his hands were warm and grounding when the world felt like it was spinning out from under me. The way his laugh could cut through the fear like sunlight through clouds. The way every time he looked at me, it felt less like possession and more like home. Still, part of me wondered if I was just another prize in some twisted competition I never asked to be part of. It wasn't until the night everything broke, the night a stranger tried to corner me outside my apartment, and Ethan showed up like he'd been tracking my heartbeat, that I understood something. He wasn't just protecting me from them. He was protecting me from the version of myself that thought I could do this alone. The ending wasn't fireworks or dramatic declarations in the rain. It was quieter than that. We were in his kitchen, late at night, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. He poured me a cup of tea without asking, slid it across the counter and said, almost casually, "You don't have to choose me, but I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel hunted. I felt wanted. Not for my DNA. Not for some database rating. For me. And I realized then maybe the test didn't matter anymore. Because the result I cared about wasn't on a piece of paper. It was standing right in front of me, smiling like he already knew the answer. The tea had gone cold by the time I found the courage to speak. "You keep saying you're not going anywhere," I said softly, my hands wrapped around the mug. "But what if I'm not who you think I am?" Ethan tilted his head, like I just said something absurd. "You're exactly who I think you are. And I'm here for that person, not some profile in a database." I stared at him for a long moment. Even if I walk away from all of this? Even if I'm not interested in being someone's rare omega? His lips curved into the faintest smile. Especially then. The words shouldn't have hit me the way they did. But they settled into the cracks the fear had left behind. The next few weeks were quieter. Not normal, I wasn't sure if I'd ever get that back, but I started breathing easier. Ethan kept his promise. He was there without smothering me. A steady presence when the world still felt unpredictable. Sometimes he'd bring dinner over, sometimes he'd just sit on my couch reading while I worked. There was no grand performance. No constant reminder of the danger I'd been in, just life, unremarkable and unhurried. And somehow that felt more romantic than anything else. I think that's when I started to trust him completely. It was late March when we took a drive out to the edge of town, past the railroad tracks and into open fields where the sky felt too big to hold all at once. We parked on a dirt road, the sun low on the horizon, painting everything in gold. Ethan leaned against the hood of his truck, watching me. "You know, you never actually told me why you took that test in the first place." I laughed, shaking my head. "Boredom. A discount code. Definitely not because I thought it would lead to any of this." "And now?" he asked, eyes steady on mine. "Now," I said slowly, "I think maybe it wasn't about the test at all. Maybe it was just a weird, complicated way of finding you." His smile was small, but it reached his eyes. He stepped forward, closing the space between us, his hand brushing mine tentative, like he was still giving me the choice. I didn't pull away. When he kissed me, it wasn't the kind of kiss that tries to claim you. It was the kind that asks gently if it can stay. The fields around us were quiet, the air cool against my skin. I felt his heartbeat where his hand rested against my chest, steady and sure. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't thinking about who I was supposed to be or what anyone else wanted from me. I was just here, with him. Later, as we drove back under a sky full of stars, Ethan reached over, his fingers curling around mine on the center console. "So," he said lightly, "does this mean you've made your choice?" I squeezed his hand, smiling into the dark. "I think I made it a long time ago, and that was the truth. Because no test, no number, no algorithm could have told me what I knew now, that love, the kind worth staying for, doesn't come from compatibility charts. It comes from someone who sees you, not the version the world thinks you are, and chooses you anyway." Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.